Jamie, are you here, Jamie?
Yeah, I'm here. Can you hear me clearly?
All right, good, good. Let me introduce Jamie, this beautiful woman here. Her name is Jamie Low. She is attached to this company called
I'm all right.
all right.
I'm all right.
And she has been in the she has been in the communications and marketing and sales for over 20 years for commercial and humanitarian brands. Now she's spending a good portion of her time doing promoting of a greener method of eliminating trash, enrolling communities and corporations. So let's hear what she will talk about this product that she has and to help us make this world a greener place. Thank you.
Thank you, Lily. Can you hear me clearly?
Yes.
Yeah, I seem to have a bit of an echo on my side, but if you're okay, then it's all good. Okay, so firstly, I want to just say thank you to the Rotary Club of Bandar Utama for giving me the opportunity to have this stage to share and talk rubbish with you all. Okay, that's what I do most of the time is talk rubbish, right? And you understand why after this. So I want to say thank you to the President, John Xiao, and Mr. KG Tan for making it possible, and Ms. Lily Lee here who has been really organizing it back and forth with me for the last few weeks. So thank you very much. And also, hello, assalamualaikum to our guests from Maldives, konnichiwa, and also sawadika. So anyway, my name is Jamie. I'm very glad to be in this room of very passionate people. They say that changes all come from a small group of people for the world, and it's true. So I think you guys as Rotarians are amazing because you take up time from your own life just to volunteer to do good stuff. I'm very honored to be able to share what we have here and how we can actually maybe work together with your team across the world, or at least in Malaysia and Asia, and we can start a movement from there for people to be more responsible for their waste. So I'm going to just share some slides. I only have 30 minutes and I will just go through quickly about this technology that has been invented in Malaysia. And I'm sure you have questions after that, so I'll leave more of the time for the Q&A part, okay? So you can hold your questions until the end. I think we can move past faster. All right, let me just share my screen. I'm not sure if you've seen some videos that KG said he was. KG, thanks for your excitement and passion for this. Very, very much appreciated. So we speak about, I met KG through one of our meetings in our factory. And he is a friend of our executive director, Mr. Pang. And he also is a proponent because as a Rotarian, I think you all naturally just care, right, about stuff. So he's proponent for this waste management system, and he's been trying to get us to be able to speak on this platform. And here we are today. So the app is actually a machine in Malaysia. The Malaysian, we call him an uncle because he's 74 years old. It's basically a machine that is able to solve, and I'm not saying this lightly, I know it's a big claim, but we're really going to be able to solve our entire planet's rubbish problem. Okay, so tonight my talk is really titled My Waste, My Responsibility. The reason why I say that is because I think we all living in the urban areas, we are very lucky to be in the cities. We don't see rubbish outside the house, right? We take whatever we have in the kitchen, we pack it up, we bring it outdoor, and then tomorrow, voila, somehow or other, magically it disappears. But it doesn't disappear. What happens is it goes to a less fortunate area or place, people who are poorer, it ends up in a landfill. And in countries where I think Thailand would be aware of it, like Cambodia and Myanmar, third world countries, India, across the world, where they're in the rural area in Malaysia also, it ends up where people actually live. So people live in the landfill in places like that. It's very sad. And knowing, after being in the rubbish business a while now, I can't put it past my own conscience that we know that there are people in the planet, our brothers and sisters who are living in this kind of condition, and we have a solution here. And we don't do something about it. So that's why I've been working on the Asher together with Pamarai, the company. Pamarai here, this company here is actually the exclusive distributor of this technology. And we are working hard to bring this awareness to as many countries across the world as possible. We've spoken to many government politicians across the world, humanitarian groups like yourself, NGOs, corporates. So every one of us, if we are living, we actually generate waste. So it's really our own personal responsibility. But prior to this, what can you really do about rubbish, right? Except reducing and using less, which is not very feasible in today's world. And we can't ask you to stop consuming because that's also not fair, because consumption, etc., keeps the economy growing. So what do we do with the resulting rubbish from your packaging, your food, we try have no straws, but do you know billions of straws are already made? So there's not really an answer. Now we make things and we don't know how to unmake them. Now, and then the Asher came along. When the Asher came along, I was running a NGO for kids, an environmental education NGO. So I'm quite passionate about at least building our next generation of human beings to be more conscious of what we do and to protect the environment a bit more. So I was introduced to the Asher because I was unhappy with the thing that we're asking them to learn how to segregate and sort and recycle. The truth is, we don't have the infrastructure to be able to do recycling. Even if you sort your plastics here, or we don't use straws in PJ anymore, Petaling Jaya and Selangor, we still do not solve the problem. It's hardly even a dent because we're just doing it to make ourselves feel good, and the government uses it as a line because it's a great campaign, but it doesn't really solve an issue. So I was introduced to the Asher by one of our volunteers in my event, and he said, Jay, you should go and take a look at this machine. It just got commercialized. First commercial unit just got sold in 2016 that time. And that time when I learned about it was the end of 2018, early 2019. So it was just becoming commercial in Malaysia. And I went there and I saw this and I met the inventor and I met Palmerize owners. And I realized that it's unbelievable that this machine really is the most definitive, realistic, practical, and green zero waste to landfill solution. Here is a big thing, that's why we hashtag it. Zero waste here means that if we can have a way and a method to really turn our rubbish into nothing or into something that it does not contaminate, and we do not bring it to land, we have zero waste going to landfill. And if we all do it individually as a person and we give an allowance to enable other communities to do the same thing, we can solve the problem together almost instantaneously. And I'm not kidding. So it's a solution for that purpose. What the Asher does simply does this. So ended up, I started helping them promote the Asher, and now I'm actually doing it a lot of my time, and I'm actually working with them now. So the Asher does this. It takes your rubbish in the bag, it puts it in a machine, and within an hour of processing, it turns it to ash and only 4% of its original volume weight. So that means if it was 1 kg, you're looking at about 4 grams of ash comes out of that. So if you put in a plastic pen, for example, this pen comes out, is very, very light, very little bit of it becomes the ash. So we're thinking what happens to the balance, right? I'll come to that later. So it turns it to ash, and the key thing is you also don't need to sort, segregate, or separate. Now the ash, because there is no burning, so people call it an incinerator, but it's not, because incinerators actually uses petrol and fuel to create fire, and that fire burns things down. So we all know that open burning or cremation is actually toxic to the environment because of the resulting smoke that comes out, and also the ash itself. If we cremate, the Chinese, we cremate our dead, right? That ash is actually toxic. But this ash, because it is no burning, is non-harmful, non-hazardous, and it's so inert. Inert means that it's stable, and it's also got binding properties. When you mix it with water, you can actually like become like clay. So it's also a good cement replacement. So it takes all the rubbish that we generate, and then it turns it into this ash, right? So what this really means is we really have a solution. And then of course I was curious enough to want to understand why. And that's why I think most people don't believe this. They're like, first thing you think is too good to be true. How is it possible? And the next question we ask after we know that it's possible, we're looking at the machine, how come nobody knows about this, right? So those were my questions, and that's led me to this journey where I want to share it with as many people as possible. So instead, your rubbish doesn't actually get treated. You don't know, maybe I'm going to tell you, you take your rubbish, you put it outside, and someone comes along and take it. Maybe if you're staying in PJ, it's Alam Flora. If you're somewhere else, maybe SW Corp. And then whoever the people who are commissioned to operate it, what they really do with your rubbish is they take it from one point to another point, and it ends up in a landfill. All the plastics coming from overseas to Malaysia recently, last year, there was a big hoo-ha about this year, is actually, as far as the US and the Europeans are concerned, they were disposing it legally because some company here actually said we are an environmental agency and we are a company and we are doing recycling. We are a legitimate recycling company. They gave those documents to them. For them, the EU, they just realized, okay, we have to send it to somewhere where it's actually a recycling company and it's got to be legitimate. We got whatever paperwork it may be, and they have a KPI, they must dispose it. For them, they just name it, okay, we've done it responsibly. But then when it comes here, it's not a recycling company. The documents were not real, they were fake. The reason why Europeans send here is because over there, if they send it to an actual company there to recycle, they have to spend 150 euros per ton to dissolve, to solve it. When they send it over here, plus shipping, they only pay 50 euros, right? This 50 euros goes to somebody who is an illegal collector of this. They take the money, they take the trash from in the container load from Port Klang, they put it in some palm oil estate, and they open burning it at night. So that's actually what happened. And then now we've got all this plastic stuck here. So what I'm trying to say is our rubbish, we may think it's only Malaysia or Thailand or Japan, but no, it goes around the world, and it ends up just having a whole holiday round and round the planet. It doesn't get solved. And then it ends up in our rivers and the seas and our food. So this is why it's a very important problem for us to look at and to solve. Or else 10 years down the road, 50 years down the road, our kids and our next generation, right, will not have the same planet that we are having now, because we are doing a great job destroying it actually. So when I saw this, I was really, really fascinated, and I went there and spoke to them. So just some of the technology about the machine, so that we are able to understand a bit of the background before we go into what we can do about it, is we have 3 models. Okay, 2-ton solar. This is a solar power unit, great for islands or places that are rural, Mount Kinabalu, any kind of mountains that is off-grid. They can use this because it's powered by solar. Okay, and because it's powered by solar, we still have 30% white smoke coming out. I'll explain why. Because we can only have 1 filtration tank. Versus the electrical units, it's 100% vapor. There's no smoke at all. Even if it's the white smoke here, this smoke is actually safer than your car diesel smoke, safer than your, what's the thing called? We love to eat that here, or the satay. It's safer than that kind of smoke, okay? It's all within US EPA standards. But still, in the city, nobody wants to see anything coming out that looks remotely like smoke. So in the city, we have created the 2.5-ton electric smokeless and the 4-ton electric smokeless. Now this 2-ton, 2.5, and 4-ton just means that the machine, that particular machine, is capable of treating and eliminating up to 2 tons, 2.5, or 4 tons a day, okay, in a 16 to 20-hour operational day. Now, if you run it 24 hours, it will do 3 tons, 3.5 tons, and 5 tons. So this machine, you can run 24 hours, it will work even better, okay? So what comes out, what is the key points of the Asher that makes it so special, right? Is number 1, we have 0 accelerants. We need 0 accelerants. Accelerants here means things like petrol, diesel, and fuel. When it comes to incinerator plants, Malaysia has got 5. None of them are working because it's like buying a very expensive car, like a Porsche, and we have no money to pump petrol to run it. So it's the same thing with incinerator. We spend 50, 30 million US ringgit of our tax money building a plant. It takes them 3 to 5 years to set it up. And then after that, it costs about $4 to $5 million a year to actually put petrol and fuel in it. So this is the main problem that the inventor was trying to solve. Because if we were to depend on a big incineration and expensive equipment like this to deal with our trash, countries like India or poor countries or third world places will not be able to afford to deal with their rubbish. And they will always be the dumping ground of the entire world. Because it'd be cheaper to put it there than to put it into an incinerator, because it will cost money to go and burn it, right? Since incinerator plants are expensive, the owners of it need to recover costs. So this is the first problem we need to solve. Second thing is human nature. I know we try, but sorting and segregation, even if you, me, and the 16 of us in this group try very hard, we will hardly make a dent into the actual problem of the world. And that is, majority of people don't care, and they don't want to care, and sorting and segregation is a major problem, no matter how much education we give them. Plus, in Malaysia, if we sort and segregate and we know that it doesn't get recycled anyway, because there is no recycling plant able to do everything, do you know your plastics, there are 40% of plastics that can be recycled, but only about 7% actually gets recycled. So even if you dump it in the recycling area, they will still sort it out. If it's got glue on it, they're not going to recycle it. If it's still got liquid inside, they will not recycle it. If it's got color, it will not recycle it. So unfortunately, it's a nice idea. And it's also more expensive to recycle something than to just dump it. So that's the problem we're also facing. So with the Asher, that was designed to solve this. So the Asher was designed to solve these few problems, right? Inert and non-toxic. Another thing is residual from trash management. When you incinerate, the ash is toxic. The air that comes out is toxic. So how do we make sure that everything here is green and clean? And at the end, the ash can be used as soil conditioner, or if it's really just food waste, fertilizer, right? So we can reuse your rubbish in this form for fertilizer. And every batch takes only 60 minutes to process. And this is all the key points that the Asher was built around, and also to make sure that it was able to be be able to give people the opportunity to treat it on site. So if it's a remote area in the middle of nowhere, let's say in the middle of like Nepal, in the hills somewhere, the Himalayas, what do they do with their rubbish, right? It's expensive to treat rubbish. So the machine is able to work in conditions like that. And it could be the solar unit is just placed there and they can redeploy that also. Okay, so this is what the Asher is built for. I'm going to go to the next section, which is a bit more technical. So I will go a bit slower. And I'll explain this part because I am, like Lily earlier mentioned, I am a marketing and communications and salesperson. And I use whatever skills I may have to try to promote something that is great. I'm in by no way an engineer or a science-based person. So I will explain to you in a way that a lay person will understand, okay? Because it's how I understand it after working with the Asher for more than a year now. Now the Asher is patented and is approved in Malaysia, China, Australia, and also Singapore now. And we have PCT in 139 countries, meaning it's like patent in basically, if we go in those countries, then we can apply for a patent. So it's like a holding patent without getting it yet. So PCT in those countries. Now the Asher this is the cross section. So I'm going to just follow my cursor of the 2.5 ton smokeless unit. So the 4 ton looks like this as well on the side, but it's just a bit bigger, that's it. So there are 3 IPs related to the Asher, right? We talk about solar and we talk about electricity here. So most people will be wondering, how do we power this machine? And is the heating powered by electricity? It must be very expensive then. So the answer to that is no. The heating is powered by the breaking down of your rubbish. The more rubbish you put in there, the hotter the machine becomes. But what we do need to do is to enable the rubbish to break down. And so what the electricity is used for, and the solar power is used for, is to power the blowers and the pumps, okay? Not heating. So we need about 4.3 kilowatts an hour to run this blowers and these pumps to be able to generate the heat and run the filtration system for the entire machine. The only other thing you need for the Asher is water supply, 1 to 1.5 liters an hour. Okay, so let's talk about what we use this for first. So imagine you just got your own Asher, you put it into your refuse room, okay, let's say your condo or whatever, or your mall, and then you're gonna plug it into a normal 1-phase or 3-phase power, and then you're gonna turn it on. And what you're going to do is the first time you're starting on the machine is actually cold, right? So it's just a cement block, it's cold. You put in like a lot of wood chips in here and you light it the first fire, like how you start a barbecue pit. After which you close the door, you press the button at side and you will turn on these fans and you turn on the pump. So that's what electricity is for, is to power this. Now, what does the fans do? So the first thing is it will pulling neutral air means air from anywhere, into this plasma reactor, or we call it the artificial plasma generator. And this plasma generator does 2 things. Number 1 is it will suppress oxygen from going into the tank, because remember there's a first fire in here. If oxygen goes in there, the fire will not stop and you're going to get like toxic ash. We don't want any fire. So eventually after using up all the oxygen, the fire will stop and then all the heat is just contained in here. And I'll explain that's the second IP. Now, what this plasma reactor does is that pull in neutral air, suppress oxygen. Second thing is it will ionize the other particles in the air into plasma, artificial plasma. So it will make that particle of the air, ionize it and remove its electrons, and then it goes like crazy, right? It moves like plasma. Then, so to explain better, energy increases more when you apply heat to solid things, it becomes liquid, right? Apply more heat to liquid, it becomes gas. So everything around us is gas, right? And you apply more heat to gas, it becomes plasma. So what plasma does here is charged gas. So what we are doing is we're changing the air from outside into plasma, artificial plasma, because we need the plasma to enhance the heat transfer process in this chamber here, so that the second IP can actually work. Now the second IP is this, how we formulated the refractory chamber. This chamber over here, the concrete on the side, kind of like your Coca-Cola or your Pepsi, is a formulation. So it's mixed it to give that particular taste. So our concrete is been mixed in a particular way that is able to absorb heat. And when the heat absorbs enough until 100 degrees centigrade or Celsius, it is able to release heat. And then it perpetually does that. So what we have generated here, created, is an artificial environment of a hot oven in there where heat can be regenerated continuously and goes higher and higher and higher as long as you're feeding it rubbish, right? So the plasma in here increases the heat even faster. the formulation of the concrete here absorbs the heat, releases the heat, absorbs the heat, releases the heat. Now, what you are doing actually is you are actually putting rubbish into here. There is no, it's a vacuum space, means no oxygen. When there's no oxygen but heat, there is no fire or combustion. So what we are doing is we are baking and drying your rubbish in there, bake and dry until it's so brittle. And then while the plasma is moving, it also has a blending effect. And then it cuts through all your very brittle stuff and it becomes ash, right? But then why 4% ash? Where is the balance 96%, right? So we are mostly made of water and gases. Everything is like that. The actual thing at the bottom, which is the hydrocarbon, falls to the bottom plate. Then it will be at the tray here that you can collect. Now then the balanced gases becomes a usual problem when it comes to usually when we want to disintegrate something, toxins will be created, right? So let's say this plastic pen over here I'm holding in my hand. If I put it into the asher, what is happening is when heat is on it and it's really hot, say 200 degrees C, it will start disintegrating, right? And you'll break down into pieces. The balanced thing, the gases are hot, it will travel up. But in those gases is all your dioxins and furans and all the nanoplastics and whatever. It doesn't end up in the ash. It gets into the gas and it goes into the third IP, which is our filtration system. Now, these filters here do not move. They are meant to prevent the fly ash from flying into the tank. This too is the filtration tanks, So when the gases travel in here, now this fan is blowing, it's pulling the gases from this point all the way to this point out, okay? So that's why it's moving. So from hot gases like that, they go from a hot place to a cooler place. So here, it goes through here, and in here, we have this nozzle that is showering down high solution that has been designed to trap all the toxic gases into this water solution. And this water solution has got high alkaline solution in there that's able to change the pH of the acid into alkaline continuously. And that's why we need water supply, because the water gets evaporated, right? The balanced gases that actually escapes will get trapped in the oil trap, and 3 formulated carbons that's able to trap color, odor, and also heavy metals. So this is where all the toxins get trapped in the water here and in here. Now the water also, you have to press another button every 2 or 3 days. It will then clean the water. We call this a water scrubbing system, right? And then the water gets cleaned and the sediments get trapped, and then the water gets reused in the system. No water comes out. Okay, it's a completely closed loop system. Now then those that come out here, if it's a solar unit, it ends out here, it goes out, the output goes here. That's why there's still 30% white color smoke, although the smoke is very clean, yeah? But in the urban units, we don't want to see any smoke at all. If it's in your refuse room or in the mall, nobody wants to see the smoke. So there is another tank. It goes through the same exact process one more time. So by the time it comes out here, it is actually just vapor. It's vapor and it's alkaline vapor, high alkaline vapor, 12.6 pH. And it's because it's gone through so much showering by the alkaline solution. It's also only about 50 degrees C, so you can put your hand there, it will not harm you. So this whole thing goes in, there's one loop like this, and it just continues going on and on and on. So as long as you're feeling it rubbish, this will continue. So only the first time you need to start it with fire. However, if you only use it a few hours a day, the next day the temperature would have cooled down, then you have to restart it all over again. So this is the 3 IPs that's been put together by our inventor. And our machine, right, has just gotten the green asset. I don't have the slide here. I can show you the cert later on. I can send over to KG and Lily. We are very happy to announce that we have finally gotten the Malaysia My Hijau Green Cert. That means that they have the government of Malaysia has finally certified the Asher as a completely green and safe machine. Any corporates that buy it, corporations that buy it, you get to have 100% capital allowance you can deduct from your company tax for 3 years, up to 3 years until you get 100% back. So for other countries, they usually take this cert to show their own government, to say that it's green, and then they apply for whatever green tax that they may have over there. So this is all the technology there is for the machine. I hope I've made it simple enough to understand. Of course, we would love to invite you to go and see it, but in the meantime, yeah, I just have to show you some videos lah, okay? Okay, so we spoke about smoke just now, and I'll show you a couple of videos on how it looks like with smoke and those that work in the refuse room, and also how to actually operate the machine so that it's easy for anybody. Don't have to have a technician or an engineer to run it. We just have to train the operating staff. It could be anybody. They don't have to be highly skilled either, because we'll teach them what to do. Okay, so this is the machine in Cambodia. The sound that you will hear actually is just the generator. It's not from the machine. The machine decibel is low. It's below 80. It's like 7 like between 68 to 70 when it's running, hardly any sound at all. Okay, so you see the smoke here? So that's like the white smoke. Oh, sorry. That's it. And then it dissipates after a while because it's just vapor. Okay. Okay. This is a unit in Sunway. Okay. As you can see, it's like in a refuse area. This is in Cambodia. First step is to heat up the thing like a barbecue. Then you close the door. The second step is to feed waste like that. This is us doing e-waste in our factory. Maybe you were there today, right? So you can see the factory looks like this. There's car battery, PCB board, speakers, all e-waste goes inside. And the third step is you're going to remove the ash every 12 hours. Every 12 hours, you remove the ash. And that's it. That's the white ash. So the ash after this is a container that you can sift out. Whatever that doesn't get broken down, you can put it back inside again. It comes with a machine, a container. It's a sifter. Okay. So why we have this is because we want to be certain things that the machine cannot treat, right? We call it the unashables. But let's talk about what is the result of the elimination first. So firstly, what comes out of the machine is this. You have mild alkaline vapor from the outlets, less than 50 degrees C, all within US EPA standards for the air. No water discharge at all from the machine. The water gets recycled and it cleans itself inside. The used filters in those filter chambers, right? You just put it back into the asher again when it's done because you have to change it every 2 months or 3 months depending on the machine model, and then it becomes ash non-toxic, and then you just repeat the whole process. And then of course, this is the ash. So we have this labeled because these are from our clients who usually take their type of waste to bring it to us. They use our asher. They get the waste treated like rice husk, synthetic rubber, expired medicine. MSW stands for municipal solid waste. And then they take this ash and they go and do their own test reports with Syrium or with Pony, or whichever country you have, they use this, and to see whether it's safe before they purchase it, okay? The unashables, so you get ash and you get things that cannot be broken down because the heat is just not high enough, right? Which is good news because when it comes to metals, you can do recovery of precious metals and you can sell. So remember just now the laptop that was put in? This is the outcome of it. All the plastics around your laptop is gone. This metal can be resold, yeah? This is copper from circuit boards. The copper is intact, 100% value still. You can sell it. This is lead from a car battery, and this is from a kapchai, a motorcycle battery, right? So we all treat it within the machine. And the glass is another thing that cannot be broken down because glass is very, very strong. Glass is actually just sand, right? Sand. So another way we use it for glass, right? To give zero waste because nobody wants to buy glass. It's got no value in the market, not that there's plastics. So with glass, we have a crusher. We have a separate machine. There's a glass crusher, and that crushes it back into fine sand, which I don't have a video here. Next time I'll show you another round. Fine sand, and that sand together with the ash, you can make bricks with it. Okay, so this is the unashable items. Okay, and this is the ash. So now, when I say zero waste completely, it means that these things can be recovered. All the metals can be sold and reused again by scrap people. Glass, when you crush it back as silica and sand, you can reuse it again, right? The ash, you can reuse it as well as fertilizer or soil conditioner or a cement filler. So trash to cash is another point. So how do we spoke about just now about people's attitudes, and we can't blame them. It's just people's consciousness from wherever they are, and they're just doing the best that they know. But if we incentivize people to be able to turn their rubbish to cash, we're going to have a bigger movement that's faster, and everybody will be more cooperative all around. We can also create new jobs for people who are poor. So you can take the ash, for example, from your rubbish, mix it with the crushed glass from the sand and water, and then you just basically sunbake it and it becomes a brick. This is actually an actual brick from our Indian party in India. They use this to fix their temple. So you can use this to build homes. It's not been tested for loading, but you can't use it for structural build, but for like filler bricks or for flooring or for any kind of fixing of roads, etc., is perfect, right? And this is what you can do with ash. So because of that, our client in Sampurna, also Sabah, they clear the rubbish there and they sell, the operators there sell their ash 50 cents per kg to a cement factory. Okay, so it makes them very rajin, you know, they work very hard to get rubbish to clear, so because they can generate income out of it. And this is another one what our customer did in Sungai Petani, Kedah. They got one that is by the Ministry of Rural. They bought one for this kampung, and the kampung people actually run it. They have mixed it with chicken dung and soil with the ash, and they packed it into this. This is their brand. They created this pawang, which is 2 ringgit for 2 kg, is actually fertilizer. Yeah, and they sell that. They also put it into their plants for their gardens. Okay, and this is in the Philippines. Same thing. This is an interesting thing. The municipal there got their people involved and give them 30 every 30 kg that rubbish they bring to them, the center there, the Ashes Center, they will give them 60 US cent that in a voucher, which they can claim, combine and go and claim and buy food and household supplies in the shopping mall and the markets. So then after that, they take the ash and they plant their vegetables and they sell it also 15 peso per kilogram of fertilizer. And they also sell the vegetables. Until today, this Marikina in Philippines is a model green city, a green town, right? Or actually more like a village, green village. They've got 2,000 people population or something for the entire Philippines. So that's how they mix it up. They mix it up with the 80 kg of ash, they mix it 100 kg of sawdust, and they have 180 kg of fertilizer, which they pack and sell. Okay. So of course, the other type of trash to cash, besides using the ash as bricks or cement filler, soil conditioner, or fertilizer, we mentioned it earlier, precious metal recovery from your e-waste that you process. Okay, so lead, silver, those things will come out from the asher intact and you'll be on top. Even aluminium doesn't get broken down. Okay, all right, so this is trash to cash. And these are some sites here in Malaysia. Latest one, if you all stay around Shah Alam, congratulations, you don't have to buy your own asher yet. You can go and visit the this place in MBSA. I can give you the link later. It's open to the public. You can go there and drop off all your rubbish and they will treat it in the 4-ton asher over there, okay? And this is open for public to just bring their rubbish. So you can bring even your sampah pukal, you know, the very big items when you clear up your house or you do Chinese New Year. So remember that every single bit of trash that you bring to the asher, you are actually diverting it from our landfills. So it's actually quite worthwhile, yeah, to do that. Like myself here in our own home, I keep every week I'll bring 2-3 times to asher, and I'm like a rubbish collector now. You know, my whole family brings their dry waste to me, and they leave it outside my door, even if I'm not home. And I'm the one bringing it every single week to the asher to make sure it doesn't end up in a landfill. So food waste, they will compost instead. So in our own little way, we try to not contribute to the landfill. Okay, so you can also do the same. Now, the asher, like I said, is made in Malaysia. We are very, very happy to know that something like this, as noble and honorable as this, we are able to bring to the world. The inventor and his vision, and together with Pamarais, our owners, our vision is, together with me, and very aligned to this vision. And I'm sure you will be too. It's just that clean, green environment is something that I think it's the right of every single human being on the planet, not the poor or not just for the rich. And especially the poor does not need to have our rubbish in their backyard. So us being able to firstly enable trash being completely eliminated in a non-harmful, non-toxic way for our environment, and us being part of something like this to bring it out to the world, slowly but surely it will go across the planet. Maybe the next 5 years or 10 years it will take, hopefully faster. But once it does, we really can have a zero waste situation, and we would be in healthier conditions all around, because it also impacts the health of people, right? So now we are in 75 units have been in 14 countries. MCO has derailed it a little bit. We have a lot of orders now backlogged here in Malaysia because of our production chain breakdown. Not breakdown, it's just been delayed. And we're just getting it back on track again and sending out machines. And we hope to have more, okay? So the media has been incredibly supportive. We have paid for no advertising at all so far. Once they heard about this, they have come all the time. They've called us and say, can we come and interview you? Can we talk about this? We want to share the story. So we're very, very grateful to the media, Malaysia's media. And we also have talked to many government officials from across the world. And it's, like I said, slowly and surely it will get to that point. At least Malaysia now has recognized the asher as a green machine, and Malaysian corporations can actually claim 100% tax for buying the machine itself, right? Now, this is Mr. Pang, our executive director, together with our managing partner and the inventor. This is Uncle Roland. Okay, this being interviewed in different things. And this is us last year. We got voted by the Edge, covered twice, once in July, one more time end of the year. They named Asher the first best and brightest, and we are very grateful that they have given us this coverage. And then Mr. Pang after that have been invited to TED Talks, etc. And again, like here, I'm very grateful that you're giving me this platform. I'm not sure what's going to happen from this point onwards, whether it's going to be possible or not. At least still we have the right people knowing about this. This already exists, and finding ways to probably make it happen. Yeah. So this is us now. Now, I'm just going to briefly cover this. That's why I've been invited to talk about this. I think is how can we then apply the Asher as a way that people can take it as enable communities to be able to treat their own waste. We can't wait for the government because there are too many bureaucracy going on. Number one, we can't say it's somebody else's responsibility because we are the one responsible generating the trash. And really, waiting for something like this to happen, it's just an irresponsible approach, I would think, now that we know about the existence of something like this. So what we have done on the primary side is we've come up with a concept. And we want to do this for ourselves as well. Okay, we call it the Asher Park. So we want to work with communities that's able to have a resource center, a one-stop resource center for landfill diversion, right? And we call it the landfill diversion committee. And basically it's a loose committee because we don't want to form a society or a club or NGO or foundation. It takes too long and too much bureaucracy around it. Anyone who wants to be part of this thing, we just consider it a committee as a movement for us to just go ahead and do something for the planet and for our communities. So what is the Asher Park? Okay, it's a social enterprise program. It's an initiative by us, but we are happy to have anybody take it as an initiative, including the Rotarians, of course. It's an outreach initiative under the committee. If we're all part of it, we're all in the committee. Because without easy community access, right, to the machine and comprehensive waste re-education programs for our community, our objective to actually divert waste from landfills will be futile. I apologize that these slides have so much words. It's not really meant for presentation, but we usually send this out to people to read, right? But I'm just going to take you through the key points, yeah? So firstly, we discussed this, the apathy of people. The more third world the country, the apathy is even higher because really they are more concerned with survival than to clean the rubbish now, okay? So frankly, that's something that we have to be able to support those kind of communities. Second one is insufficient infrastructure. This is talking about we want to recycle, but actually there's no infrastructure to recycle. And when we want to recycle, why countries in the East and Europe is able to do that and they are able to do zero waste and negative waste somewhere like Netherlands and those countries. It's because they have very expensive infrastructure in place, right? And the government's policies are very, very stringent, which we don't have here. So we're kind of like in between, we have a social cultural challenge, right? Sorting and segregating ingrained in our culture. Let's not try to force it down. Unlike Japan and Korea, very, very, very good. It's in their psyche that they all do this from a young age. They're very conscious about the environment, conscious about community, and conscious about each other's living spaces. Because I guess they live in such small spaces, they don't really have a choice. But in Malaysia, we're very, very lucky. Thailand, we're lucky. We have plenty of space. So we take our rubbish, we put in the kampong, we forget about it, right? So this is usually the problem. When I used to teach 3 hours or 5 hours to kids, I get very frustrated. I teach kids 4 years old to 18 years old. I really hate talking to them about recycling or sorting because I know it's going to end up tomorrow when they sort everything nicely and tell their mom, see, look, I've sorted my plastics here, and everybody's like giving them claps. Ends up outside, Alan Flora takes it, ends up in the same place as everything else. And then scavengers come and take whatever they can sell, and that's it. Everything else goes to a landfill. So they don't know, they don't care. And I can say this because I've been doing this a while about what actually happens at the back when we talk about 5Rs. It's really just a campaign line. But we want to teach this as not a campaign line. We want to teach this as a real way of living. When we refuse, when we don't need it, it's also a way to save the planet because we don't need to have more than what we need, right? Refuse, we can reduce usage, we can reuse stuff, we can repurpose it, and we recycle it. Using the asher, for example, we can really recycle something, meaning the ash can be recycled into fertilizer, the metals can be resold and recycled into something else. So when we are able to teach this holistically and with integrity, meaning we are able to support every single thing that we are pushing, then we should teach it. Otherwise, I think There is no integrity for us to be able to say this but not be able to follow up with it. But with the ASHA, we can do that now, right? There is no efficient and comprehensive facility. I already spoke about this. This is a pet peeve of mine, so I'm sorry if I'm too passionate about that, but this is the truth. Only about 78% are really recycled, which is a very sad thing, very expensive to recycle. So what's our challenge? Our challenge is this: knowing this situation, let's not fight with people and the masses because it is what it is. Let's not blame the government because they have their own stuff to handle. Let's see how we, as individuals, as a community, or as a organization like yours, can aspire to inspire people across Malaysia and the rest of the world. We will practice these 5 Rs, be responsibly, dispose their waste responsibly, and they can support landfill diversion. So when we have this challenge, the word responsibility here stands for the ability to respond. I would like to let that sink in a little bit. You can't be responsible if you do not have the ability to respond, right? You can't hold a child responsible for doing something he or she doesn't know. It's the same thing. So you can't hold people responsible for dumping trash when they don't know or don't have an access to where they're going to put this rubbish. And you can't ask them not to buy anything at all. It just doesn't work that way. So we want to create awareness, and we need to be able to give the accessibility. First, they must be aware that there is a way, okay, and they have a choice. And then we must say that it's accessible to them. And then we will push for adoption. Would you like to take it on? Which is what I'm talking to you guys about, right? Adoption. And after adoption, once we have adopted it ourselves and we're walking the talk to, we can then advocate. If we don't do this, then we can't really hold people responsible. And we can be responsible one community at a time, one village at a time, one condo management at a time. We don't need to do it in a big way. It's just a lot of people doing a little bit, doing the right thing, making it happen. And we will see it will be a wave because we are powerful in our numbers of everyone being responsible. Okay, so objective of the Asher Park is this. Just do the highlights quickly. My waste, my responsibility. Quite self-explanatory, right? I want to be able to be responsible for my own waste. So whatever I have, I'm not throwing to a landfill. Number two, we want to be able to allow this for people to say that they can do this. Number two, treating at source. Treating at source is amazing at reducing carbon footprint, conserving your natural resources, and reducing hygiene-related issues. Meaning, if we have our rubbish here, we don't have to have the truck come and take it, spend the petrol, carbon footprint, all the gases going out there, carbon emissions, then it gets dumped into a landfill, then it sits there and degrades and releases more methane gas, and again, makes our planet hotter. And this whole chain, it's an expensive process. So if we're able to treat at source in the community itself, where the trash is generated by the people who live in that community, then we solve a lot of problems, right? Okay, resource sustainability and a truly circular green economy. At the same time, we want to make sure that whatever that we treat, we can actually reuse it again so that the center or this Asher Park for that community is sustainable. Without being sustainable, it's just going to be another white elephant with a great idea. Someone uses it to promote something, and then it becomes forgotten and nobody uses it anymore. So we want to be able to make sure that it continues in a meaningful and safe manner. Yeah. So we have a business around it for whoever takes it up. A cultural shift. Cultural shift is about education. Education is a generational thing. And to do that, it takes time. So we need a space where we can teach and also show and also have them experience it. Because just teaching by talking there's no effect. We must do. When we do, they will understand and they will learn. So we can really teach what is 5Rs and what is practical in the lives that we live now, not as an environmentalist and not as a really strong activist or something, just being a responsible human being in our own lives now. That's it. Okay. Cleaning together, prosper together. This is the English version of our Malaysian gotong royong. So when we do, when NGOs and corporations and zero waste NGOs do cleanups of rivers and kampongs and streets, and they do such a great job, people all come out and they want to do a good thing. I am a firm believer in the goodness of people, and everyone wants to do their best wherever they go. But when we don't allow, they don't know that all this rubbish goes back to a landfill. It doesn't get treated at all. So it's quite futile, and it's very sad that that's like the way. So with the Asher Park, we are able to then allow them to bring the rubbish to the Asher Park, and then all that rubbish that they have collected and cleaned up from the rivers and their cities, in the streets and the longgangs, the drains, we can put it in Asher, it becomes ash, and we can use that for the community again. So the gotong royong actually has got actual real impact, right? True impact all the way. And last one, we talk about circular green economy. How do we create a social enterprise that is viable? business model for startups, entrepreneurs, single mothers, marginalized communities, for people who run all these kind of refugee camps. How do we generate income for these people by running an Azure Park? So that's part of what this thing is about. I don't want to talk too much about the UN SDGs. I think we're all familiar if you're in this work, and I understand the Rotarians have been very focused on environmental issues lately as well. And these are some of the components, the main ones that we can actually hit the objectives for UN SDGs. But of course, if you go through everything right on many different levels, poverty can be alleviated, etc., etc. Clean water and sanitization is also another thing. So, but these are the main things. Okay. Okay, so one-stop community center, going zero waste, one community at a time. Yeah. Okay, so just an overview quickly. This is a resource center for landfill diversion. So I'm just imagining it as for proposal and conversation purposes. We build up a place 3,500 to 4,000 square feet, double-story building on the land area of 5,000 square feet, about thereabouts. And the first floor, you have an area to treat waste. You can repurpose the waste that comes in and resell them. There's a retail area, there's an office area. Second floor, you can have a vertical farm garden, and you also have a multi-purpose event space. So all these areas here are meant to be able to generate income for the center so that the center can continue. What we will do in the Azure Park is, of course, you can add on more or reduce up to whoever that runs the Azure Park or owns the Azure Park. We will collect waste for treatment and repurposing. The community will be encouraged to bring old clothes, their household waste, their e-waste, their plastic toys and paper. And when they're there, our people who works there, the staff, will actually sort things out, right? Of course, we will ask people not to pack their old clothes together with their household waste. Now, things that they think they can donate, we will do that. Then we recycle and upcycle. This is not new. We have many parties already popping up everywhere doing pre-love, upcycle items, and they raise money for poorer communities. And we can do the same here. Upcycle items here means we can run courses that teach kids or families or people who are interested how to upcycle an item and remake it, redesign or refashion it into something else that can be sold. So we can sell soil conditioner from the ash, vegetables from the farm. We can also promote local community green products, and we have green bazaars. Recycling here is resale of the metal ash sent from the crushed glass. Community value add here, we can hold resource bookshops, zero waste NGO support. This is one of my passions also, because we have many great zero waste NGOs around the country. They do such great work. But really all the rubbish that they clear still ends up in a landfill. So the Azure is at the tail end where whatever they do, they can bring it to the Azure and then it gets treated into ash. Now the Azure rental, this is a core component because the Azure can be put onto a container and you can, every time a big event happens, let's say a major run or a concert happens, right? Whenever that happens after COVID, major events always generate a lot of rubbish, from the packaging of food, water, the banana peel. If you've seen it, it's all over the place. So we can rent the Azure out, we can put it onto a container, and the container can be lifted onto a low loader, drive it to site, a bank or somebody sponsors for that to pay for it, and then they actually treat the waste on site, then drive it back to the Azure Park again. So this is a key point of income coming into the Azure Park. Okay, last one is showcase tour. So here you can have flagship initiative for Green Stop for green tourism and international knowledge sharing. I think there's one more thing. Yeah, it's over here. Community value add for workshops. So overview example activities can be done is all this. Why do we want to put all this in place? Is because without community support of a place, and without a party that is responsible for the running of and operation of the place, and also without making it something that is sustainable and able to generate profit for people who run it, it will not sustain. So we want to generate something that's more like a social enterprise versus just a non-profit NGO, because it needs to run itself. It needs to keep the people running it motivated as well. And that's how it can actually spread. Anybody who is keen or has the funding wants to do this, they can actually open up their own version of the Azure Park. They can build it however they want to have it look. Okay, we're going to have a website, azurepark.com, where we have all the different Azure Parks feeding into it to show people what kind of zero waste to landfill activities they're doing in their park. So this is one example of how it could be, right? A drawing. So that's the Azure inside the container that we spoke about. This is a key component because it will generate income for the space. This is upstairs. This is where the farm greenhouse is. This is where people come and drop stuff off. Okay, so this is very basic drawing at the moment. Example of how it can look like. Okay, so this is really up to the person who, the community or the organization or the individual that buys a national park or runs a national park, right? Can be like that. Whatever it is, it's got to be just basic, simple, green and low energy. Okay. All right, so this is just a sample drawing layout. I'm just going to go through very quickly, and I can pass the slides to you all. You can use it and review it. So when people come through here, they can drop all their waste down here. Our staff here will take it and they basically will sort. So they will sort whatever that can be resold and reused. Will go through here for cleaning, ironing, whatever, and then they can sell it all in this purple area over here. This is an office. The other stuff that can't be reused, trash, really rubbish from your house, plastics, etc., goes into the asher. After that, they can pack the ash in the bag and sell it there. Okay, and then metals, etc., can be resold. Now, as you go upstairs, okay, these yellow color ones can be additional idea of renting out the space for like food trucks. So people here can also have makan, minum, food and drink, coffee, etc., meeting space. So it can be a drop-off center. This is the area for a farm, and this is a multi-purpose event space that's covered. You need the event space to really run events for the community for education, because if you don't, then this is a good way to generate income and also for people to meet. Okay, so training at source, example how the container can look like. This is like the event space, just very simple, outdoor like that on the rooftop. Yeah. So in summary, the impact is each Asher Park can divert 2.5 tons or more daily household waste from our landfills. Okay, that serves about 1,200 households now. So we kind of have this as a gauge. If your community needs more, but every community is kind of like around this kind of household, it will repurpose and recycle all waste in bulk, brought to it in meaningful ways. You can run a minimum of 24 zero waste workshops a year to serve the community. Of course, you can do more. A resource center and think tank to develop ideas on how to upcycle waste materials into commercially viable products. This is where you can also build more job opportunities for people. We will be a platform to host environmentally conscious thought leaders to come and talk about whatever they are doing in their own way of saving the planet. Commercially viable social enterprise program for people who want to run it. Okay, and you enable individuals to be more conscious and responsible. Okay, and lastly, we want to be able to design it that it becomes a model system for community waste elimination system for within developments of community, and also the people taking the power back into their hands to say my waste is my responsibility. So the big goal is numbers here. I'm not sure if you know, but Malaysians, we generate 38,000 tons of waste a day. Okay, that translates to about 19 million tons of waste going to our landfills every single day. Every single year. So that's what we are generating. This does not include yet commercial waste from factories, from your corporations, not from your shopping malls. Don't have. This is just household, you and me. Okay. So if we do this, then we need about 10,000 Asher Parks in Malaysia to really divert it. Now that's a big goal. We're not sure whether we're going to reach that anytime soon, but we need to start somewhere. And at least that way, and we can't do it alone. One organization can't do it. So it has to be something that we are all happy to openly share with as many communities as possible, so that we as a race, a species, can be able to do something about this problem that we are causing for the planet, and everything else on the planet is paying a price. The animals, the land, the water, the trees, our plants, everybody is paying a price for the waste that we generate. So we want to create this as a sustainable waste elimination model system. The estimates, I'm sure you're all keen about the numbers. This is actually quite complete, what I just showed you just now. You're looking at about to set up cost, the capex of the Asher Park, right, is about 240,000 USD. Not a lot, I think, to really get something working. In fact, you can even do less. It really depends on how you want to build it. Operational costs, this is based on what I presented. That's why I need to present that so I can show you the costing. Operational costs, less than 80,000 USD a year, including 4 staff, 1 manager, advertising budget, etc. That's really all in. I can give you the breakdown later if you're keen. And more importantly, the potential income, just based on the few things that we're saying at very conservative rates, right? Looking at about 125,000 USD income back to the Asher Park. So this one minus this, in ringgit, is still about what we're looking at this, about 50,000 USD. The owner and operator can still make. So I think as a small potential startup business, and if they become more creative, they can do even more. I'm sure they can do even more. This is just really just to put that concept and the idea out there as a base idea to start with. So what is the impact on Mother Earth for us? Really, that one is priceless, right? So I would like to end here on this. My Pamarai executive director comes up with this thing. He say, be a landfill diversion hero. We can be a hero now because we can. With the Asher, we can actually make this a truth, not just a big claim. But I think I want to end with more of a proverb, or that the Red Indians, the African Americans, I'm sorry, the Red Indians, the Red Indians in the, my God, my brain is not working so much well. But the Aborigines people always say this, right? Or the Chinese actually, before we do something, right, let's think 7 generations down, how it will impact uh, people then. 7 generations from today, if it's going to impact them negatively, let's not do it. And I think we've lost that along the way. All our ancient civilizations know this, but we forgot it in the name of progress and commerce, which I have nothing against. I love shopping as much as anybody else, but I think we can do it in a responsible way. And with the Asher, we can solve one of the problems of the planet, I think. No, I think I know, which is the problem of the waste that we generate that contaminates our home planet. And that's it. So thank you very much. I will end here. I thank you for your time. I think I took more than 30 minutes, but I hope it's comprehensive enough. And if you need anything else or have any questions, please ask me. Thank you.
think that, thank you, Jamie. There is a few questions.
Oh, there's a lot of questions.
Yeah, there's one question that comes out is from our guest from Maldives that asks, right? Now, the system seems to be trapping the gases, the toxic gases that from plastics and things like that, and it goes through a filtration system.
Yeah.
Now, how do you get rid of those toxic materials?
Oh, good question. That's what people usually ask, right? Like, where does it go, right? So it gets trapped inside the filters. The filters, we put it back into the Asher when we have to change the filters. So when it goes into the Asher again, it becomes ash. The toxic gases rise again, and it becomes less, and then it gets trapped in the filters again. So it doesn't go out, and it doesn't stay in the ash. So it's always in the filters until it becomes nothing. I hope that understands the question. Yeah, and all our ashes have been tested by different agencies, third-party agencies, for the analysis of the composition of the ash, which we call TCRP.
Thank you. Let me ask you something on top of that.
Okay.
Does not it get concentrated eventually in the system, because you are recycling the same toxins over and over again in the filtration system?
No, you have to change the filters every 3 months.
Okay.
Every 3 months, yeah. So you change it by you don't dispose it outside, because then it will contaminate the planet, right? You put it back into the Asher again. Then there are new filters you fill in. So it's like a closed loop.
Yeah. Okay. There's a loop going on then.
Yes, there's a loop going on.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
The same question to what I once said. You said you have to change the filter system every 3 months. That means, would there be any separate kind of filters?
Yeah.
That is separately, and then once it's used, after 3 months, we got to change to a new one.
Yes, correct. And we sell our filters on an annual basis, one set for the whole year. So when we teach the operators to change it on a schedule, every 3 months they will change it. Every 3 months they will change it. So it's carbon filters together with the water filtration system, but it's very, very low, the cost, because it's meant to be.
So it's 4 pieces a year.
4 times a year, but for different things. It's on a schedule for different things.
Okay. When you say different things, sometimes when we collect or we put in the rubbish, mixes of rubbish, which is plastics, we can't use the food waste, right? It's only plastics.
You can put food waste inside, no problem.
So let's say when normally in my housing area, MPPJ comes around a certain days of a week, once a week actually, to collect all these plastic wares, recyclable ones. We don't, and I now come to know from your side, we mix, I put in the colored plastics as well.
Yeah.
Like instant noodles, I will just put it as a recycle. Yeah. So which means their kind of system and your kind of system, the Asher, is different.
They don't have a system really.
Oh.
So they will take it. What they will do is they will take it and they will they will take it to a place, a transfer station, and then there will be people who come and sort it out, and they will take whatever that's got value. They will sell that to those people, and that's like 7% of only 40% of plastic can be recycled, but of the 40%, only 7 to 8% is actually recycled, because the rest is contaminated. It's too expensive for the recycler to clean it, to reuse, so they just don't take. Yeah. So it's and there is no actual government-run recycling center or system or infrastructure in Malaysia, not like Japan or Korea or the European countries. There isn't. So yes, so your plastics don't get recycled. It goes back to a landfill. Sorry to say that, Lily.
All the trouble that I sorted out in my
I know.
family members.
It's frustrating. I know. Yes, it is. And then in the beautiful places like Maldives, you all end up in the sea.
Yes. You know, when plastic, when you burn in an incinerator, right? So there's a dioxin gas and this fluorine gas, all these.
Yes, correct.
So if
yes.
I put plastic into Asia, do they still have these byproducts and then will be absorbed by the water and all this?
Yes. It will, of course, because putting it into Asia doesn't change the composition of your plastic. It basically breaks everything apart, and gases will then float up, right? Because it's hot, ma. Then the ash is the bottom part, which is the ash itself is mostly hydrocarbons only. There isn't a very almost negligible traces of urine, etc. trapped inside there. It all ends up in the filters.
Okay. How about another question? How about those? You know, I've been to Maldives very often. I think Amon knows. So,
yeah, KG, you are always in the Maldives.
You know, the problem is the food waste. Normally, the food waste. The resort, sometimes they practice throwing to the sea, and then slowly the coral will be affected. Can we throw the food waste without segregation into Asia?
You can throw everything into the Asia without segregation.
But it's quite wet, though.
No, it's fine, because the Asia, as long as not more than 80% moisture content, it will be able to treat it. So we are working currently with a few big brand resorts across the world to plan out their zero waste, because resorts, they have their beaches and then the corals, and then they've got all kinds of waste coming from the hotel guests, right? And their food waste is very high. Usually food waste is about 50 to 60% of the waste that they have to treat every single day. So we can treat food waste, not a problem. Food waste is between 40 to 50% moisture content only. Just don't throw like curry, you know, just the curry soup, right? Don't throw it into the Asia like that. You have to mix it with things. So even with resorts, they also have like used oil, cooking oil, right? Which they have about 5 to 15 kg a day. They don't know what to do with it, right? People that don't come to the middle of island to collect your oil. So they are keeping it. They have no idea what to do with it. So they can also mix that in with their waste and put it into the Asia. So there's no worry about food waste.
Oh, I'm worried that the liquid will cause what you call short circuit in the reactor.
No. Don't worry. The reactor will not short circuit one.
Okay.
There's also no moving parts, and there's no pressure in the system. So it's very safe. It's like a big oven, really. That's what it is. A big oven. In the Philippines, they tested with a hand grenade to make sure that it doesn't like crack or anything when people, you know, because in the Philippines, there's a lot of people have like explosives. They got guns, they got stuff, right? So the municipal tried with a hand grenade, no issue at all. That's it. They just got, yeah.
How about battery?
No problem. Batteries also
can burn battery.
Yeah, that's how you throw the whole battery.
So there's no burning. There's no burning. There's no burning. It will be able to reduce the battery into the parts that can be ash should be ash. The left behind really are just metal parts.
No, see the battery got sulfuric acid inside. You know, do we have to drain off?
No need. It will evaporate as gases, and then the gases will be trapped in the filters. So you don't have to drain it. We put the whole car battery inside. Also same thing.
Jamie, how many Azure Park are there now in Klang Valley?
Azure Park in Klang Valley, there's no Azure Park yet at the moment. The one I just conceptually told you. But Ashes in Malaysia, there is 12 going on 15. 3 more waiting to be sent out this period. So we got that.
In Klang Valley?
Klang Valley, there is one that is the one I show you in MBSA Shah Alam. Okay, and then there is another 5 by a private factory that does changes paddy husk into silica, and then they sell. So they're very hush hush. They don't let anybody visit them because a secret thing is going on there. And then there is a school, Brainy Bunch in Cyberjaya uses it. There is Sunway Group that has it in their HQ. How many have I counted already? Those are all here in Klang Valley. Then there is two more out of Klang Valley in Kedah and also in Ipoh.
I think
our factory also lah. Our factory got 2 lah, of course.
I think the Rotary Peace Park is a good place to start.
Yeah. So I want to be able to invite you all to come and see our unit in the factory. And of course, at any point, right, you can always drive over to Shah Alam. I'll send to KG afterwards the location. And you can drop your rubbish there for now first.
Jamie, can I ask you one question?
Sure.
You mentioned that in Singapore, there is a machine which is operational right now.
Yeah.
Is there any possibility to have a look at that machine system?
Singapore, to look is, the answer is no, unfortunately, because 2 units in Singapore is in Changi Airport. So it's considered a security zone, 1. And then another one is by an e-waste company and they don't want people visiting. However, we are discussing with another 2 e-waste companies that are happy to allow people to come. So hopefully in the next few months, I can give you a better answer than this. We've been trying. We have big petrol companies who want to go and see, but we haven't been able to get any kind of permissions for them yet.
Thank you.
All right.
Any more questions?
Yeah.
Okay, I think we thank you. I think we like to this Hui, can you propose a vote of thanks to our speaker? Hui, are you there?
Yes, I'm here. Sorry, I missed most of the part. The battery went low. Okay. On behalf of RCPU, we'd like to extend our thanks for sharing this new technology of waste management to us. I think it is something new.
Your line
No battery.
Lagging her battery down there. I mean the place electricity or what, the laptop not enough battery.
Yeah.
Okay. So any more questions? No?
Okay.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Earlier, when we have many guests, we have guests came in, and then when we started off with our meeting, then when I introduced Jamie, I think I better reintroduce the people around here now. We have Dr. Pira. He's from District 3330 Thailand. Past district governor, and then we have his spouse as well. Just now she was here with us, PP Junjira from Rotary Club of Leong Krabi. Rotary Leong Krabi is our sister club to Rotary Club Bandar Utama. And then we had our PAG, Dr. Bernard, who is assigned to help me through this as well, this Zoom meeting. And then we have just now PAG Fong Fong from Rotary Club of Teluk Intan. She was here a while ago. I do not know now. I don't see her name here. And then we have this PP Aiman, is it Aiman from Rotary Club of Maldives. And now I think PP Edmund Chew, he was here just now. I think I saw his name. Yeah, there. He's our sister club. He's from E Club D3310 Singapore. And also we have PC Nakanishi from Rotary Club of Osaka, Japan. So we are talking about 4 different countries now with us: Thailand, Singapore, Japan, and Maldives. So we have as well, we have guests as well from our members' friends, Joseph Lai, Jovi, and I think we just have one came in, Ken Lee Vipin, is it? Yeah, I think that's all. Thank you so much for all for joining us this very informative talk by Jamie. I guess now we can go back to our president. Anything else to mention?
Thank you very much. I now come to know Malaysia has great products, so great innovative products. I hope it sells well. Okay, I think we have come to the end of our meeting, And I'd like to thank everyone for the presents. I owe Jenny a memento. I hope I can send it over to you, but I will make sure that it reaches you. Don't worry.
Just send me a photo, it's fine.
Okay.
Well, don't worry. Once our CMCO over, when we have a another dinner, we will surely invite you.
Thank you very much.
Thank
I
you so
think with
much.
that, thank you very much. Welcome and take care.